Hello, my name is Heidi Hellmuth, and I'm the curator of primates at the St. Louis Zoo. Today I'm going to talk to you about our new Primate Canopy Trails exhibit as part of the ABMA Behavior Month, so welcome. So what is Primate Canopy Trails? It was 3 years in the making and cost $13 million, and it is an exciting and innovative new exhibit that offers outdoor habitats for our monkeys and lemurs. So the St. Louis Zoo has an historic primate house that's really a wonderful building. But at over 90 years old, it definitely is showing its age and has some challenges and limitations. A little bit about the primate house animals. We have Old World monkeys, New World monkeys, and lemurs, along with one sloth in our animal collection. So the Primate House was built in 1925, and at the time it consisted of 34 bar-fronted enclosures that lined the walls with a large atrium habitat or cage in the center. There were no outdoor areas for any of the animals. In the 1970s, there was a major renovation where they created fewer, larger, and more complex habitats, 13 of those with glass fronts for added safety from zoonotic disease transmission, and the atrium was converted from animal to a planted area. Then in the 1990s, some outdoor areas were added for the first time. There were some along one side, the east side of the Primate House, and then there was one off of the back driveway that was off exhibit that we used for tours. These were a great addition, but they only allowed some animals in our collection, primarily some of the lemurs, to get this outdoor access with its accompanying health benefits. So why was Primate Canopy Trails needed? First of all, in a 90-plus-year-old building, you can imagine that the indoor areas present some challenges for both the animals and for the staff. Even the outdoor habitats that we built in the 90s were showing their age. Every year we'd have to go through and replace wood that might be rotting out, and a few years back we had to replace all the structural columns as well that were beginning to degrade. We did everything within our power to connect or to make these areas as good as they could be within the envelope that we had to work with lots of modifications for animal training and welfare. So starting on the left-hand side, that's an access port for a training door that we use primarily for ultrasound training to track pregnancies, but could be used for other purposes as well. The next photo over shows a tunnel. About 3 to 4 years ago, we began connecting all of the indoor habitats to one another so that we could move animals more easily and offer them multiple spaces at times. Next over is a crate port that allowed us the ability to move some of our larger monkeys a bit more easily. And then furthest over to the right is a tunnel that we used as kind of a prototype for Primate Canopy Trails that we put between two of the existing outdoor habitats to get the animals and the staff used to this new type of habitat. So Primate Canopy Trails. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it offers the animals and what it offers our guests. This is the entry to it. It's a large climbing interpretive structure that is meant for the human primates to get up into that treetop level. And its main message is that all primates, including humans, need healthy forests. And in this interpretive climbing structure, people get the chance to kind of experientially learn that. They might go through one tunnel and find a sign that says go. We've built a bridge over a man-made waterway so you can still find food. And then they find another that has a dead end that says stop. There's a logging road. You have to find another way to get to your family. So while they have a good time, they can also learn about some of the challenges facing their wild primate counterparts. So the two driving goals for the animals for creating Primate Canopy Trails, first and foremost, was that all monkeys and lemurs at the St. Louis Zoo would have the ability to go outside, some of these animals for the very first time in their lives. And then we wanted to save some of the large existing trees in that area and incorporate them into the exhibits for the animals' use. So for our guests, we offer an immersive experience with the tunnels that go through. This is a glass tunnel that goes through the first kind of entry premier habitat into Primate Canopy Trails. And you can see a rendering on the right-hand side of what that experience might be like. And if you look up in the top center here, you can see a rendering of two kids up in an acrylic tunnel. That's one that goes through the exhibit up at treetop level. That is not yet open due to COVID considerations, but that's going to be another wonderful and immersive opportunity for our guests and our animals to get nose to nose. Since we did want to include those large trees in our Primate Canopy Trails habitats, we then decided we needed to create this boardwalk that not only gives the guests the ability to get up nice and high to see the animals up at treetop level, but it gets them off of the roots of the trees so that we can hopefully protect those trees for many years to come. So Primate Canopy Trails was built with two main concepts in mind. The first is rotational exhibits, meaning that our animals no longer have one home base. They can rotate and will rotate between many different areas, both inside the building and outside in Primate Canopy Trails. If you look at the drawing on the left-hand side, and if you can see my cursor, 1 through 12 in here are the indoor Primate House habitats. We used to have 13, but we lost one for a new vestibule for people to go enter Primate Canopy Trails. And then 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 are our Primate Canopy Trails outdoor habitats. These areas right here is our Primate Care Center, which you'll see me talking about, which is a building that helps support Primate Canopy Trails for our animal management needs. And then we have the Outback, which is that outdoor enclosure I mentioned that's off exhibit, some upstairs off exhibit holding, and we also have basement off exhibit holding. And then we use a tunnel system, as you can see here on the right-hand side, that allow animals to move to different places, both indoors and outdoors, and between the two. So for the animal tunnel systems, we use a variety of different types of tunnels. The flex chute that you saw in the last picture, these rigid chutes right up here that go along the different buildings, and then we have some what we call modified tunnels that go in certain areas as well. So lots of different tunnels that go between different places. There's over 12 tunnel systems throughout the project. One of the showpieces of that is what we call the home run tunnel. The home run tunnel is the longest one that is on the project, and it's also the only tunnel that goes from the Primate House to the new Primate Care Center without going through a habitat. So it allows us to move animals between the two sections. It also is just a destination for a lot of the animals. A group of animals that was either inside or outside that day might have part or all of the home run tunnel just as an added place to explore that day. So I mentioned for the animals, including these large natural trees, these are the sycamores that we included. And here's some pictures of some of the animals enjoying those large natural trees that we incorporated. In addition to that, every habitat has a number of deadfall that were procured at one of our off-exhibit properties. And these have kind of a high-tech Christmas tree holder underground that allows us to change them out as they degrade naturally. So you can see that the animals have lots of opportunities for perching and natural behavior with the deadfall, in addition to those habitats that have the large natural trees. We wanted our animals to have an increased ability for browse. So we not only included lots of natural plantings, all safe, some palatable, some not, inside of our habitats. You can see on the right-hand side there, the sheafok enjoying some winged sumac. We also planted some of these types of edible plants outside of the habitats within reach, but not close enough for them to get all the leaves off. So just as they grow, they can get a handful here and there, which is great enrichment. And then we included 2 browse gardens as part of the project. The one on the left is what we call the edible forest, and that's going to have a number of species that many different animals can utilize for food, for bedding, or for play. And then on the right-hand side, this is specifically for our cockerel sheafok, and it's a winged sumac garden. Since we do grow this on site and freeze and process it for all year long use in the off-season as well. Every habitat has 2 shelter boxes. The shelter boxes have built-in heat pads so that it gives them not only shelter from the elements, but a warm place to go on a cool day. We do try to use all of our habitats 24 hours a day when weather allows. You can see that these shelter boxes, animals tend to use the ladder leading up to them. They'll sit inside the shelter box and they'll even sit on top of them. So they've proven to be very popular with our animals. Every habitat has at least 1 cool mist fan. And some of them that we learned this first summer that have some issues with being a little bit more in the direct sunlight have multiple cool mist fans. And each one has shade built in. And again, just like we found some areas needed more misting fans this year, we found some of our habitats needed additional shade. So we went ahead and added some while we evaluate how to do that in a more permanent way. One thing we're really proud of is having the keepers involved from the very concept of when we first started designing Primate Canopy Trails and making sure that it worked for the staff as well as the animals. And something that I think most keepers wish they could get built into their exhibits, not retrofitted, are attachment points. So we have over 300 stainless steel D-rings that were designed into the project and welded onto the structural steel. It's very hard to see here, but if you have a good computer, you can kind of see along here. These are the D-rings on the structural steel. They go about every 3 feet. They alternate one side to the other, but they are throughout the project. And then you can see right here how the keepers are hanging fire hose attachments onto some of these D-rings. Another really great feature to support the staff was this non-public keeper elevated walkway, which you can see that goes along this building here and then out, that accesses 3 of our 8 exhibits. On the animal side, we have a shelf that you can see right here, and then the keepers can get right up there, as you can see, and we can do training, enrichment, animal observations, or tours from these locations. The Primate Care Center houses 4 of the social groups that are in Primate Canopy Trails. We have a total of 8 habitats. 4 of them have direct access to the Primate Care Center for shelter, and 4 have direct access to the Primate House for shelter. And this gives you a couple of views of both the front and the back of the Primate Care Center. You can see that we have windows for the animals. This is the public side. They're up higher, so the public isn't looking into most of those. On the back side, they're down lower and larger. And then you'll see that these 2 windows have their own purpose right here. Because we couldn't hide this service building from our guests, we decided to embrace that concept, and we let them look into both the keeper workspace and one of the animal spaces to get a glimpse at how we do what we do. So I'm just going to show you some photos of each of the habitats in Primate Canopy Trails. This is what we call Habitat 13. Again, Primate House has 1 through 12, so we start out here with 13, the one with the glass tunnel. This is Habitat 14 that has one of those large sycamore trees in it right here. Just different views of the same habitat. Habitat 15 is the largest habitat, one of the 2 largest habitats that we have. And again, you can see a large sycamore tree that's incorporated into this habitat. Habitat 16 has a large blue ash tree as well as some spruce trees included in it. And this, along with 15, is a very, very large habitat. And these are about 30 to 35 feet tall. Habitat 17, which is a little more utilitarian shape and structure, because in the future it may be incorporated into an indoor area as part of our master plan in maybe 15 years or so. The same with a very similar, which is Habitat 18, which is similar in construction. And then habitats 19 and 20 are built for our callitrichids. We also will have small lemurs in these at times because everything here is smaller. The mesh is smaller, the shelter boxes are smaller, the clearance and gaps are smaller, so that it's safe for these animals. And this shows you each side, 19 on the left and 20 on the right. So what you're seeing now is a time lapse that shows some of the construction of Primate Canopy Trails. And it's just kind of interesting to see how this all went up. So you can see the Primate House there in the background. And what you're seeing in the center there is building the Primate Care Center, which is the first major structure that went up. This project had a lot of underground work. There's a train tunnel that goes directly underneath this site. That's for our zoo train. We also had the dig barriers, of course. We had the tree root systems for these natural trees, plus all the normal utilities. So there were a lot of things that had to be worked around. But you can see that Primate Care Center going up there. And to the right, you're just seeing where the landing for the boardwalk is going to be. Now some of the structural steel is starting to come up. The one that's right there in your foreground, that is Habitat 17. 18 is off to the left-hand side there. And all the way against the building, you can see the structural steel for 19 and 20 going up. Now you're just starting on the other side of the Primate Care Center to see the structural steel for those large habitats along the boardwalk. So you can see that structural steel going up there. And there's the landing for the boardwalk, for the end of the boardwalk. And then you can see the boardwalk structure itself going up. You can see some of the shelter boxes here in the foreground in Habitat 17. Everywhere that we have a tunnel that goes across a public pathway, it has that pan underneath, as you can see by the one that goes between the Primate Care Center and Habitat 17, so that people's natural experience is not too natural. So that just gives you an idea of what it looked like over the course of a couple of years. And then the next that you're going to see is a fly-through 3D model that was done before we ever built Primate Canopy Trails to show people what our vision was. And what's really amazing is how true the actual Primate Canopy Trails was. Really the only major difference is the climbing structure in reality became much more of a tree house-like structure versus these metal structures that you see here. So there's the Primate House on your right. And then entering to that interpretive climbing structure area that again are actually those treehouse style. And then you can see that acrylic tunnel there up at the top, and everybody can go through this glass tunnel for that immersion experience with animals all around you. So going up the boardwalk and getting a chance to see some of these habitats, that's actually Habitat 16 with the blue ash tree. We did 3D imaging of all of the trees to decide which limbs stayed and which went and which ones would be going through the mesh so that we could design appropriately. But this is a really great view of what that boardwalk actually looks like from a more aerial perspective. Coming down into the second courtyard, which has the Primate Care Center on your right-hand side. That's a education interpretive bodega style building that we use for our education team. This is Habitat 18, and then pulling back for an aerial view. So next I want to show you some videos that we made to help generate excitement in our guests for the opening of Primate Canopy Trails. Many of these were taken in the early days of animals being acclimated. This is our colobus family exploring the tunnels on the very first day any of them were ever outside in their lives. And our Allen swamp monkeys. This next video shows how we intentionally, I mentioned, made browse for our animals within and outside of the exhibits. Our swamp monkeys tend to like the grasses on the ground, and many different species have enjoyed de-leafing the sycamores to the best of their ability, as well as the blue ash. And the swamp monkeys also thoroughly enjoy pulling out the plants so that we have the enrichment of putting them back in the next morning. There's more of that deadfall I mentioned before, and given this big guy some exercise that he sorely needed. And because you can never get enough babies. This is baby Juniper, mom Cecilia, and she is playing with big brother Teak. of one of those shelter boxes that I mentioned before. We did think a lot about the different types of locomotion our animals had. So this is our sheephock enjoying locomoting in Primate Canopy Trails. And lastly, our male Francois Langer, as he got the opportunity to use his great leaping abilities. And just to end things off, I wanted to show you a kind of cute commercial that we made to promote Primate Canopy Trails.
Here we come, walking down the street. We get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. Hey, we're the monkeys, and people say we monkey around.
Visit the new Primate Canopy Trails at the St. Louis Zoo and see monkeys, lemurs, and more. Face to face, 35 feet off the ground. It's swinging.
Hey, we're the monkeys, people say we're the monkeys.
So that is our new Primate Canopy Trails. We are very proud of it. We hope that you will all come and see it. If anyone would like to learn more, my email is on the screen. More than happy to talk about it at any time. So thank you so much for your attention. Hope that you enjoy the rest of ABMA Behavior Month, and hope that you will come visit us and see Primate Canopy Trails. Have a great day.